Thanks everyone for coming to this month's From the Bench. This week we're talking to Rhiannon Alpers, newly of InterOcean Studio. InterOcean Studio is located in Englewood, Colorado, just outside of Denver, and endeavors to be the Denver area's creative intersection of paper, book, and letterpress. Reopened in March of 2022, the studio offers exciting ways to engage with the book and paper arts through workshops, residencies, exhibitions, and community events. Rhiannon Alpers, a Denver native who moved home 1 year ago after long stints in San Francisco and Chicago, joined InterOcean in the fall of 2021. Rhiannon is a papermaker, letterpress printer, and bookbinder. She's also an accomplished and nationally recognized book artist under her personal imprint, Gazelle and Goat Press. She has extensive experience as a book arts educator and administrator, and is thrilled with the opportunity to act as director of InterOcean Studio and to make use of her talents in Colorado, engaging with this growing community. And with that, take it away, Rhiannon. Thank you.
Okay. Well, first off, hello guys, and thank you so much for coming. It means a lot to me to see faces that I know in the audience there. So thank you guys so much for coming and for being here today. I really miss you guys, and I look forward to the next time I get to see you. So that's first off, is thank you so much. And I'm really excited to be able to talk to you guys about what I've been up to for the last year. And so with that, I'll start with InterOcean, as Sarah said, is located in Englewood, but it's right at the edge. So we're right over that little hump from Denver, so right there. And that we reopened in March of 2022. So we're talking months here that it's been open, and it started. So the most important thing, I'm going to jump into our slideshow here. Let me just do that. There we go. So, okay, can everybody, Sarah, do you want to jump in? Can you see it looks good?
Looks good. Okay.
Okay, so InterOcean Studio, here's our logo, reopened in 2022. And just to give you a little backstory, InterOcean Studio was the personal art studio of Ray Tomaso. And so this space is sort of was here, and I'll give you a little tour of walking through as if you were here, but this is our intention and mission statement, the creative intersection where book and paper and letterpress all come together. And so I thought I would, this is super silly and cheesy, but sometimes in Sesame Street, they would walk you into the space before you learn more about it. So ode to Sesame Street here as we enter the space. And so we're right on the corner, and this is as if you're walking into the space. The garden is one of the first things that you see when you come in, and is right at this time of year exploding with flowers and blooms, and it just keeps continuing to go. So Diane Tomaso, who is the widow of Ray, this is her baby that she spent years cultivating drought tolerant and native plants. And as you guys can see, the garden is just so well balanced and beautiful. So there are things blooming all year round, but this is kind of the last month has just been every day I come to work, I'm like, smokes, this is gorgeous. So at the door we're walking into metaphorically here is the letterpress studio. And that's where I am right now. So here we are in the letterpress studio, and you guys can see there's a great collection of equipment I'm going to talk about in a minute. But first, we should talk about Ray. So I just want to get all this right, and sometimes when you're nervous, you want to make it smooth. So it began as his personal studio, and he was a fine artist and papermaker who contributed greatly to the arts community in Denver, specifically for over 30 years, until his death in 2020. And so through though Ray's home base was here in Colorado, he achieved international recognition primarily for his handmade paper with an emphasis on casting. So we'll see that in just a minute, but he was deeply involved in both the letterpress community and the papermaking community nationally, as both a maker, an educator, and a friend. So people who needed help, I'm continually hearing stories about people who needed help or wanted advice, and he was there in a heartbeat. So that's something that everyone is continually telling me about him. So here he is, and you can Google him to see, the huge range of work that he created, large scale. So I wanted to show you a piece that shows you kind of the scale of work that he was doing. So the piece behind him in the previous image is the range between the two. So going from what I would call medium to this being very large. And these were cast pieces. So he's casting the surface and the texture that's on them, but then he's going back in with the color after the piece is dry. That's where the vibrant, just luscious colors are coming in. And because it's cast paper, this piece is so much lighter than you would think. So some of the medium-sized pieces are 20-ish pounds, where, let's say a painting even, or a sculptural piece would be in the 50 to 100 pound range. So really light because it's paper. And then here's him at some different conferences over the years. I believe it was called Legacy of Letters, was a couple of conferences. And then you guys might recognize the Hamilton wood type shirt. He's wearing this other one at a conference, and the lovely type on the other one. So then to get this space sort of re-envisioned and re-enlivened, Diane Tomaso, his widow, Alicia Bailey, who some of you guys might know from the community of Abecedarian Gallery, lives here in Denver, and myself have been working really closely to sort of get these ideas going. So here we are looking like goofballs at the opening reception for Momentum, which was our first exhibition. And so if you don't know Alicia, she's on the right and Diane is in the middle, and hopefully you can recognize my goofy smile and curls there. So here we go into the studio, and this video may or may not work. So if it's not working, Sarah's going to interrupt and join in. So you've already seen this front little couple steps. Here we are. And then if you go the other direction, so this house is definitely what I guess my husband used to call a sleeper. From the street, you would never know the massive gardens that are right behind the gate here. So as you walk through, these gate posts were a historical piece that came from down the street, a foundry that was there. And then this was a security building for the warehouse foundry, and they forklifted it down the street to this place, which is pretty cool. All kinds of funky, fun stuff here. Telephone booth that we keep our gardening stuff in, and there's a greenhouse over here to the right. I hope you're not getting sick with the motion. And then the warehouse, which is on the right, is on the left here, and then the letterpress studio is here on the left, or on the right, excuse me, got confused. So right is letterpress, and then we're gonna walk down the last pathway here where garden and sculpture is. And then the warehouse is on the right where paper making and exhibitions are. And is it going okay, Sarah, for video quality?
We're fine. It's a little choppy, but we're getting it.
Okay. You can go back and watch it on YouTube if you like to. So there's that. So that's the warehouse. And it says the art lab. That's what. Okay, so that says the art lab, and that's where the exhibitions and paper making. So then as we're sort of reorganizing and sorting and setting things up, some of the machines, for you machine interested people out there, this letterpress shop has a hand press, as you guys see here, a huge collection of wood type of just a great variety of size and scale, and that was, you can see all the labels here just to see a teaser of that. And then there's also a Gordon 8x12 clamshell press and a 325G Vandercook, so a really large sign press that's actually has a wood top here behind me. And then there's a couple of small tabletop presses, so good selection of machines. And then equipment-wise, in the paper making studio, there's a 1 pound Hollander beater and then a 2 pound contemporary beater. So good amounts of pulp. And then he has a huge collection of molds and decals, and also laid molds, so really great, and some sugettas that are gorgeous. I'm excited for some of the future classes that will be using those. And those I don't have a lot of good pictures yet because I'm still sorting them, but they are here for goodies. So just to show you some of the the events that we had to get us going. March, when we launched, was also in sync with what's called No Print here in Denver. And that's a month-long thing of exhibitions, demos, open studios, portfolio reviews, kind of a thing. And it lasts the whole month. And it's all across the city. So then we opened our exhibition here. So the first half of the warehouse, we built temporary walls and redid the walls that were in the front half to do a book and print show. And so here's the dates that we had that, and the people who were in that exhibition, all Colorado-based artists. And so, and one name you might notice is Aaron Kohik. So for those people who know him from our SF community, he's here, and I'm enjoying so much being in the same state as him, I guess you would say. Then here's some just glimpses of the events that we had in the exhibition area, and then in the print studio over that month as things were getting to going. And then we did this great event with the Denver Art Museum, and it was called Print Jam. And so roughly 15 different studios from around the city all set up demos and different activities. And we did a duo paper making, which is in the lower left-hand corner, with children and adults making small paper on the spot with people. And then we also had 2 tabletop presses where we were printing different artwork, one that our intern had done, and then one with a local artist who had done those. So that gives you a glimpse of that. And then this summer, getting sort of into things, was our first workshop. So we started with paper making because we're still working through COVID and things like that. So we are outside for most of the day. And this gives you a little glimpse of people pulling sheets. And this was for both entry level or people who've done it before but just wanted a space to make paper. And so there's 3 dates for this, and 2 of the dates have already happened. Both full, which is really exciting as a new entity to be hoping and wishing that things will catch people's attention. And so then in the lower corner was one of the workshops, some of the people that attended that. And then going on later this summer, we're going to have intermediate level courses. So some artists you may know, Rebecca Shamlee from LA will be joining us for a class, and you can see that on our website. And then also Jessica Spring, who some people might know, and Carrie Cushman, who's an East Coast papermaker, you might know that. And then we've got some local people doing other day workshops. So that gives you kind of an idea of what's happening coming up. And we'd like to, probably starting next spring and summer, do residencies. So anywhere between 3 days and 2 weeks for people to come with special projects and work, and they can be either on their own and a specific project, or if you want to do with a person, we can match you up with an instructor to have some private lesson and some on your own work time, which is kind of nice. So that gives you kind of an overview, hopefully, of the studio. And then I, of course, wanted to say thank you to the people who have really extended themselves and helped as we were getting going. And some of which you might know, like Jeff Shepard actually was in San Francisco and is a master printer here in Denver. And then Aaron Kohik we mentioned, and Richard Pollock Nelson actually, and some of you guys might know, was a bookbinder taking courses in San Francisco and now lives here. So that gives you kind of an idea. And then 2 organizations that have been really helpful is Guild of Bookworkers, people might know, but the Rocky Mountain chapter has been so helpful. And then something called the Rocky Mountain Land Library is a residential library up in the foothills that it has an extensive library, but also land that they're using for education and residencies and land-based sort of experiences, which is so cool. So I might open up and see where I went too fast or people have questions and I can kind of fill in. So if you want to.
Thanks, Rhiannon.
Yeah.
So when you say that you reopened a few months ago, does that mean that this space, I mean, I understand it was Ray's studio space. Was it being used as an educational facility at all before that? So this is sort of your launch was in March?
Yeah, I guess that's a really great question. So he would teach, let's say he would do demos, and once in a while he would teach really small groups, but it wasn't an educational facility in the way that you might like Stand Up for the Book might be. And so the way, let's say it this way, I can even say this about my own studio. When the studio is for you, the way safety and navigation and where you put things is really different than a group of people who've never been in this space before. So actually, only the hand press and the Vandercook were in the spot where they are now. Everything else either moved or changed. And then in the exhibition space, it was totally full, the front half of the warehouse. And I organized and rearranged things for that front half to be a workshop and exhibition space. So it was totally different. Yeah. And I guess that's a good way to say reopen, because it's people when they come are like, wow, that's really different, because he had this space really full.
Sounds like a lot of work. So this was all his equipment. You didn't source this hand press. You showed us his casting, but he also did letterpress.
He did, yeah, and was very much a part of the letterpress community. Like the work that he created was, I want to say 90-something% would have been in the paper arena, but he was printing, and he's a machine guy, so he did welding, and he's such a talented person as going through his things, and what he knew how to do is just amazing. So he knew about all these things, and yeah, so all these I haven't purchased a single piece of equipment, like only just mine. All this was his, yeah, which is so great too. Yeah, that's a really good question I didn't answer.
No. Eagle-eyed Celine is asking if that's a perforator right there. Affirmative. And Terry's asking, whether the studio is now is it a foundation? Is it a transfer from private to public? I'm not sure if that means, just space wise, or are you a nonprofit, or is there like
we're still working on those things. So in this moment, it's not a 501c3, but those things are, so we were kind of trying to get rearrange, and so it's not defined yet. Maybe it's a good way to
goals, but not there yet. I was curious, since you really emphasized the gardens and also raised dyes, if he did he emphasize plant-based dyes, or was that just like, did they work together? Did Diane and Ray work together in their common interests, or was there anything? There's no linkage there.
Well, not to say that, but more to say that the pigments, he was either making his own. I wasn't there in the studio, so what I see, he has an extensive pigment collection, extensive, and then some of it is paint. So it could be he's making surface colors, or that he was using paint of a variety of different kinds of paints and mediums, from pastel through oil and acrylic, kind of like a huge range depending on the scale of the piece and what the piece was. So that's a good question. So the pieces, the paint, and the garden is drought tolerant and local to this area, and we're hoping for next summer to have this area here, there's raised beds. Those would be possibly the dye garden, kind of. We were to have that, but only so many hours in the day that I didn't quite.
What? No. Rhiannon, you're so lazy. So workshops wise, you mentioned Rebecca and Jessica and visiting instructors. Do you have, are you sort of, do you have a local group of instructors? Are you teaching? So you have regular classes?
I would say, not like the volume of Center for the Book. That's a really good question. It's very small to, yeah. And I feels like this is, it's less pressure. If something goes wrong and I'm here, it's easier to be flexible. Whereas if I'm putting that on someone else, that not everything is, as an instructor, it's a lot. And so some of the classes I'm teaching, and as we're working through, so there are a lot of local instructors that either we're working with now or will be teaching, and you know how it is on programming, that they are coming up, but we don't see their face yet. So
that's great.
Mixture of both me and local and national. So how's that?
That's exciting, though. I'm sure the Denver book arts community is very excited to have this.
And so if people have, I love good ideas and even ideas. So if interested in or have an idea, it can't hurt to, we have a form on our website, or to shoot me an email if you've got an idea.
That's great. Yeah, what is well, as a bookbinder, I'm curious, you didn't mention bookbinding. Do you have plans to?
It's here. So there's a pretty substantial amount of equipment. I should have put a whole slide of those things. So book presses, guillotines, board shears, there's those goodies, magical word, and a space. And that I need a little, where they are is a little, because he didn't do that. So where they are is a little funny, that they have to get corralled into a space that is easily accessible. So that's probably, I'm hoping for a themed series of box and related classes in the spring. So I would have enough time to kind of corral everything. But yes, definitely bookbinding is on the horizon.
Phew, good. So, and you also mentioned the Rocky Mountain guilds. So I know that some of the chapters, there's not a ton of people in them. So what is the book arts and papermaking arts community like in Denver? You're coming into this. Is there sort of an established community? Is there someplace else to learn letterpress?
Yeah, it's way smaller, right? The Bay Area is one of the, you guys could just say that you're one of the major book art places in the US. Let's just put that there. So this is definitely way smaller. But there are, I would say, 3 letterpress places, facilities you could learn or go, and then a number of commercial shops, and then Bookwise. Yeah, so there are several others, and things are much smaller scale because the population is less, and but still vibrant. And if Helen Hebert's, there's a lot of names that you might know that are so smaller. And the Rocky Mountain Guild of Bookworkers is as you said, is a bigger area. And then so they're coming from different places, not just Denver and not just Colorado. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Dina's got some programming ideas for you and wants to know if you've considered doing online classes. So
yes, I might not be the only person that's a little burnt on online classes. And so I've told myself, let's take a break from online and get the physical going. But definitely that's on the plan, because people have gotten a taste of having anything they want anywhere in the US, right? And so that's definitely part of it. I think has to be part of that equation. So yes, and if there's things that you'd like to see online, then that's great too. Yeah.
I want to know when you figure out how to do an online papermaking class. I want to know what that looks like.
Because I taught a semester-long online papermaking class. It's tough.
Yeah.
But people were doing it from all over the world. It was at a university, and so it's possible. It's definitely in person though. I'd say in person is better. So let's stick to that.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, this doesn't really have much to do with you, I guess, but you mentioned the foundry down the street and all of the things that were rescued from that. It couldn't have been a type foundry, it was just a foundry.
Just a foundry. And so, someone is visiting this week from the Bay Area, and they were mentioning about how they didn't realize what an old city or like a historical city Denver is, if you think of. And so there are so beautiful, so many the buildings and the historic landmarks and so forth that are here. My own place where my own house is from like 1908, I think. And so just like San Francisco, got that really gorgeous. And so this part of town especially was a very commercial warehouse kind of a area 100+ years ago. So there's a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that was a sleeper when you went through that gate into that yard with all of those buildings. Definitely a resource worth saving. So, well, if there aren't any last questions, anybody have any follow-ups, then we're getting pretty close to time. And anything else you want to plug here at the end? Anything coming up that you forgot to mention?
I guess I would always just say that the website is interoceanstudio.org, and then our Instagram is InterOcean Studio, and ideas are always welcome. And if you want to come visit, shoot me something, an email, or send me something. I shouldn't say send me something by email, by direct message, or whatever. And for everyone that watches this later, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm really glad to be sharing it with you.
Thanks very much, Rhiannon, for taking the time and showing us. I mean, it's exciting because, I know I wouldn't have any idea that this was happening. And it's also just nice to see what you're up to. I'm glad you're making the transition so well. We miss you, but it's awesome what you're doing. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so next month, that would be the first Thursday will be August 4th. We're going to talk to Yukimi Anand. She is a calligrapher and book and lettering artist. She, I believe, grew up in Japan, and she lives in Southern California, and she has a book in the current show. So it's a nice little intersection there. So the registration for that will open in a couple of weeks, and we hope to see you then. So thanks again, Rhiannon. And thanks to everyone for coming. Have a great day.